Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this beautiful Monday. Thank you for coming. This is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited. Before we get started, let me introduce myself anyway. My name is Rebecca. I work with the undergraduate recruitment team. Haha. And we are very excited to host this today. We are having a really great time. We're going to talk about education. It's going to be awesome. So before we get started, I gotta say, one, this is being recorded. We are going to be posting this on YouTube, hopefully soon. Yay. Second, as you may have already seen, you unfortunately do not have access to camera or to your audio. However, we do encourage virtual questions and a virtual conversation. So please post anything that you have, any questions you might have in the Q&A function, which is at the bottom of your toolbar. However, we understand your questions may be specific, but there's a very good chance that the information that you're asking about is going to be spoken about in the next few minutes. So although we do encourage questions, we will take most of them at the end during the Q&A portion, which will be in about, I'd say 30 minutes or so. So please type anything you have in there. We can also talk in the chat function, which I will be monitoring throughout our time together. And much like you, we're also working from home. So there's some unavoidable things that might happen. Trains, I don't know, maybe. Barking dogs, cats at the door, children, I don't know. So please bear with us and have some patience if you don't mind, because we are doing our best, as I'm sure everyone else is. And yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. And here we go. Let's get started. Without further ado, please, Ellen Wayne, take it away.
Sure thing. I'll just get the share screen. Sorry about that. And we're looking good.
Yeah, looking tremendous. It's fine. Okay. And thank you, Rebecca, for the lead-in and for pointing out all the things which can go wrong on Zoom meetings. So, so Ellen and I will introduce ourselves first, and then we'll get started on our PowerPoint slide presentation. As Rebecca said, if there are questions, they can go in the Q&A or on the chat. And we've been Zooming now from home for a bit over a year, so we know everything which can go wrong, and have probably committed most of the sins which people do when things go wrong as well. So my name's Wayne Melville. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Education, which means I'm Ellen's boss. And so when I say something, she of course says, sure, I can do that. But it's great to have Ellen on board. And my background was as a secondary science and math teacher in Australia from 1989 to 2005, and then I got the job here at Lakehead in science education, and then worked my way through that, and then in 2019 became the Dean. So I'm basically in charge of all our programs, both undergraduate and graduate, but we're only talking about undergraduate programs this afternoon. So that's me in a nutshell. And Ellen.
Thanks, Wayne. So my name is Ellen Field, and I recently joined the faculty in August. And my area of research is climate change education, and I also teach environmental ed. And before coming to the faculty, I did a lot of research. And before all of that research, I actually worked in schools in Istanbul, in Turkey. So I worked overseas, and I also worked in schools in Toronto.
So that's us. Okay, so the first question that people ask themselves is, why go into teaching? And for the very simple reason, teaching is one of the caring professions, and it's one of the professions where you can make I've skipped it. Right. Where was I? Yes, it's one of the professions where you can actually make a difference. It doesn't matter if you're teaching little people in primary, junior, or big people in intermediate, senior. You can have a great impact on their life, and done properly, teachers can actually have a very positive impact on people's lives. Not just learning the subject, but helping people relate to society and become productive members of society as well. And so the quote here from Helen Caldecott, teachers, I believe, are the most responsible and important members of society because their professional efforts affect the fate of the earth. And Dr. Caldicott is a medical doctor in Australia. She was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1985, all those years ago, and is quite passionate about the role of education in equipping the next generation of students to live productive lives in the society, and then also help shape the society in which they live as well. So if you want to make a difference in people's lives, then teaching is one way in which that can be done. So Ellen, okay. And as Ellen alluded to, and I sort of mentioned as well, at the moment it's also a wonderful field to be in because there are lots of jobs going. In Ontario, the last 2 years, there's developed quite a substantial shortage of teachers, and that is not going to change anytime soon. The College of Teachers, who we'll talk about later, are actually predicting this is going to last for probably most of the rest of this decade. And that's not just in Ontario, it's now spreading across the rest of the country as well, and also overseas. If you wish to work overseas, as Ellen has done in Istanbul, as I've done in Australia, then there are lots of opportunities because there's an increasing number of international schools that we work with, and a range of other opportunities. And so even within our faculty, we've got people who've taught in Panama, Guatemala, Colombia, South Africa, across parts of Europe and various parts of Asia as well. And when we get to our alternative placements, then we'll see the connections that we have there as well. So, and of course, that all ties in with wanting to travel. The Ontario College of Teachers, they're the body which actually certifies people to teach within the province of Ontario. And once you're certified by them, then basically that's accepted pretty much the same as a passport's accepted for international travel. And so students from my courses ended up teaching in a range of different countries across the world, and of course across all of Canada. So there are lots of opportunities for that. A lot of people go and travel the first couple of years and work overseas for a few years and then return to Canada. Some people go overseas and stay there. If you want to go to the Lakehead website and type in Education Exchange, and we'll put that in the chat shortly, we regularly run stories of our graduates who actually go overseas and do wonderful things there. So all in all, it's a wonderful time to travel. Not at the moment, of course, but at some point soon, hopefully we'll be able to resume that. Okay.
Okay, so let's look a little bit more into our programs that we offer here at Lakehead in the Faculty of Ed. And we will go into more specifics later on, so I'm just going to highlight them broadly right now. So we do have a program in Aboriginal education, as well as concurrent education and consecutive education, and those two sometimes cause a little bit of confusion for folks. So we're going to go through that a little bit later as to which pathway you would take. And our programs also allow for certification for you as a teacher to be either a primary junior certified teacher, so that is up to grade 6, or certified for intermediate senior, so that's from grade 7 to 12. And in our programs, you learn what to teach and also how to teach. So an undergraduate degree is sort of that foundation which provides the subject knowledge that you need to teach. So you need to develop that foundational subject knowledge. And then the education degree provides the knowledge and practice on how to teach. So it gives you the specifics of how to teach, not just the what. Wayne, did you want to speak to this slide?
Sure, and then, yep, if you want to start off. So just as Ellen was talking about, yes, I'm sure you can name teachers who know their subjects backwards, forwards, and every which way, but sometimes cannot teach it, and you just sit there disengaged or whatever. And so, as we put on this slide here, knowledge is far from enough. You actually have to know how to put that knowledge into practice. If you want an example of that, have a think about coaches or people that you might work with. The best teachers are the ones who take the time to show you what you're doing well, point out what you're doing wrong, but then also help you to improve on the things that aren't working well. And that they also tend to be the people who encourage you and treat you as a person. For those people who can think back not too long ago to the Big Bang Theory, Sheldon and his colleagues, they're brainiacs, there's no doubt about that, but can they teach? Well, let's see. Ellen, do you want to?
Sure.
Okay, who's ready for some science? Me too. Okay, I am Dr. Leonard Hofstadter. I am here with my friends, Dr. Cooper and real-life astronaut Howard Wolowitz. And we are going to show you girls how cool a job in science can be. How cool, you ask? Well, how about negative 273 degrees? Because that's the temperature at which entropy reaches its minimum value. Did I just learn something new and have fun doing it? What? All right. So now let's bring out theoretical physicist, Dr. Sheldon Cooper.
Hello, female children. Allow me to inspire you with a story about a great female scientist. Polish-born, French-educated, Madame Curie. Co-discoverer of radioactivity, she was a hero in science until her hair fell out, her vomit and stool became filled with blood, and she was poisoned to death by her own discovery. With a little hard work, I see no reason why that can't happen to any of you. Are we done? Can we go? The thing to remember is you can go to outer space too. But look at me. I went to this very school. Those desks you're sitting in, there's one super glued to one of them.
Did you go to the moon?
No, but I did go to the International Space Station.
Did you fly the rocket?
No, but I was in the rocket. I didn't actually.
So you just flew around? It's kind of like my uncle. He's a flight attendant.
No, I'm an American hero. Your uncle brings people nuts, okay?
Boy, we are learning a lot here. Thank you, astronaut Howard. I am what's called an experimental physicist, which is super fun because I get to test theories and work with lasers. Yes?
How did you decide to become a scientist?
Oh, excellent question. I suppose I've always been into science. My mother and father are scientists, so I was kind of led in that direction. Pushed might be a better way to describe it. To be honest with you guys, when I was your age, I wanted to be a rap star. Like Snoop Dogg, but with a healthy respect for the police. Why not your just like my mother did. After I confided, I was derided and chided. My mom and I collided. She said my dreams were misguided. That's just a little freestyle. Okay.
Oh, sorry
Who's
about
ready for
that.
some?
And I just wanted to also sort of talk about the practice piece, and that in your programs and learning about how to teach, it can also be incredibly fun. And so I just wanted to highlight sort of two examples of this. So the image on the left is a group of teacher candidates who are leading the rest of their classmates in a experiential activity that ties to the grade 5 science curriculum where they got to build different structures, and then the students got to simulate tornadoes or hurricanes or snow to see if the structures would stay up. And so that's sort of one example. And then the one on the right is also students are playing a game called The Incredible Journey, where they get to be water molecules and they move through the water cycle. And at each station, there's a die, and the station is a stage in the water cycle. So you can see there's a big long lineup towards the little house that's Regan House in Scope Valley. And that group is actually in the ocean, and they're having a really hard time getting out of the ocean. So we had a big group stay there. But it just shows some of the different ways that you can learn, not just about the content, but about how to teach, some of the pedagogical approaches.
Thanks, Ellen. So Ellen mentioned earlier about consecutive and concurrent education programs, and Lakehead has both of them, both at our Thunder Bay campus and at our Aurelia campus. I'm in Thunder Bay, Aurelia, Ellen is in Aurelia. So concurrent education is really for those people who are quite settled in the idea that they wish to be a teacher. Every year we get a number of people who know from an early age that they want to be a teacher, and so they come into our concurrent programs. And basically the way it works is you enroll in both an undergraduate degree, a Bachelor of Science or a Bachelor of Arts degree, and then you also enroll in an education degree as well. And so basically you're setting yourself up for the next 5 or 6 years of study. And the way it works is you study in the areas that you're interested in your undergraduate degree, in arts or science, and you can take subjects from both degree programs. And you also do 3 education courses as well. And so there's an introduction to education course, and in your first year, and then in the second or third year, there's another introductory course. We actually spend time back in the school, about 30 hours over a 12-week period. And the reason we do that is because some people find it helpful just to be reassured they're on the right career path. And some people go back into a school and then decide that they don't want to actually go into teaching, which is fine. And so you've still got a chance to change your mind. And then after you finish your undergraduate degree, then you transfer directly into the education program, which is the final 2 years of your study. And so the advantage of this is you only have one application coming in, and that goes through both the undergraduate degree and your education degree. You don't have to worry about having a spot or finding a spot in the education program, because you're guaranteed a spot. And also the marks required to come into a education program tend to be higher than to come into a standard undergraduate program. And so it just makes life easier to make that transition. As I said, we've got concurrent education programs for PJ, or primary junior, intermediate senior, in both Aurelia and Thunder Bay. Consecutive, we don't get as many consecutive education students as concurrent students. Consecutive education is more for people who, when you leave school, aren't quite sure what you want to do, but you know that you want to pursue a particular line of study. And so you enroll in an undergraduate program. Again, most people in a Bachelor of Arts program or a Bachelor of Science program follow that through, and then at the end of that, then apply to come into an education program, which is exactly the same as what people go into in the concurrent program. Again, 5 or 6 years. We've actually had a large number of people last year and this year coming into the consecutive education program because of the shortage of teachers we mentioned before. And so a lot of people are seeing the opportunities which have opened up, and so they already have undergraduate degrees, and so now they're applying and coming into our programs. And that's a trend which will probably be continuing over the next few years. With consecutive education, it comes down to what are you interested in for an undergraduate program, and just making sure you've got the right courses which can then lead into the education degree when you finish the undergraduate program.
Thanks, Wayne. So following up on that, our primary junior certification teachers allow you to teach up to grade 6, and it requires a math competency test. And as a primary junior teacher, you'll be able to teach a range of subjects. And this allows you to work in schools. And this program is offered for both the Thunder Bay campus and the Aurelia campus. And it's slightly different. So for the intermediate senior certification, then you would be teaching for grades 7 to 12. And in order to qualify to be in this program, you need to have 2 teachable subjects. So that means that in your undergraduate, you would be able to to teach in those 2 subjects. And this allows you to work in schools, and it's available in the full program is available in Thunder Bay, and this year it's now available in Aurelia for teachers who would be teaching in English, geography, history, and social science.
So if you just want to leave it on that slide, Ellen.
Sure.
So with the other teachable subjects in Thunder Bay, we've got biology, physics, chemistry, general science, and environmental science. Language, and if you've got any ability with French language at the moment, there are a huge number of jobs going in that area. Visual arts and music, as well as the English, geography, history, and social science. So basically we've got the entire range of teachable subjects which are offered in Ontario schools. Okay, so the next one, if you're of Indigenous ancestry or Aboriginal ancestry, we're sort of using the 2 interchangeably because the program is Aboriginal Education. Then we actually have a program designed for you and for your community, both in the primary junior and the next slide for intermediate senior. And this program is actually in the process of being redesigned at the moment. What we're looking at doing is working with a range of First Nations communities over in the Aurelia area and in Thunder Bay and along the north shore of Lake Superior to redesign our programs to make them much more land-based and also work with communities to address the educational needs of communities within First Nations schools and in communities especially up north of where we are. And so, again, we're looking to work in schools. At the moment, we're only in Thunder Bay, but hopefully in 2 years' time, we should be working in Aurelia as well. And this program takes 5 years. And what's really interesting about this program is that various communities that we're working with, they've got a very strong role in helping shape what the program looks like, and also making sure that Indigenous forms of knowledge are recognised and valued and respected as part of the program. And so going into these programs, the communities do have a lot of say. The university has a lot of say, but together as a partnership, these programs are really meeting the needs of those communities. And the same with the BA, BEd intermediate senior program. Again, the main difference between this program and the previous one, because this is also being redeveloped from a community-based focus as well, is to offer native languages, which is the phrase the Ministry of Education uses, such as Ojibwe, Cree and Ojibwe as teachable subjects. And also First Nations, Métis and Inuit studies as a teachable as well. And again, just only in the Thunder Bay area. Again, we're working in Aurelia to try and bring this program to Aurelia as well, to work with several Anishinaabe organisations in central Ontario. And I mentioned this one before about alternative placements. So at the moment, our education programs have four placements for a total of 105 days. If you're successful on the first 3, then what we can offer is an alternative placement, which can be, as it says here, out of the province. And so we've had people teach across the country, remote every year for the last few years, except last year and probably again this year because of the pandemic. We've had a number of people teaching in places to the north, Thunder Bay, Pakanjagum, Attawapiskat and so on, in collaboration with those communities, and also internationally. And so we've sent people to China, we've sent people to the United Kingdom for several years, and last year we were about to send our first batch of people to Malaysia and the Caribbean, but clearly that didn't work because of the pandemic. And so we're looking for other countries as well for when travel is available. And we do offer financial support for people because finance shouldn't be a barrier for people who want to pursue their dreams and their goals. Some other alternative placements, we've had people work in the area of special education. We've had people work in hospitals. We've had people work in various vocational forms of education as well. And so basically, if you have an idea of, well, I want an education degree, but I don't necessarily want to work in a school, let us know, and then we can work out a way in which we can find a place for you to do a placement. And the last group, which has become really popular the last couple of years, museums. We've had a person go to the Royal Ontario Museum, forest schools, outdoor centres. We had a person last year who was lined up to go to the Eli Wolf Education Centre in Eli, Minnesota. We've had people at the Royal Botanical Gardens and a range of people at various science centres as well, because a large number of organisations and community-based organisations have a role in education, but they're not actually schools. And so if we can find ways to help you pursue those sorts of opportunities, then we can do that as well. So that brings us to the last question and the Q&A.
So we'll open it up for questions, and maybe Rebecca, do you want to moderate that?
Yeah, of course. Wow, that was great. Thank you for explaining consecutive and concurrent. That is a topic we quite often have to differentiate. So thank you for that. The first question, Wayne, you'd mentioned that there is a need for teachers in the next few years. They are going to try to kind of upload as much as they can.
Yep. Do
you know if that need is more in the intermediate level or the primary level?
It's actually across both. Which is really good news. With the primary level, particularly if you have a background, as I said, in French, there is a huge shortage of people who can teach French immersion programs in elementary schools. And if you really want to give yourself a boost in getting a job in elementary education at the moment, people have some background in math and science, which you do actually have to do as part of the concurrent program. If you've got a bit more background, that makes you extremely employable. In secondary schooling at the moment, again, French, any of the sciences, math, and also technology education. And we're actually looking at putting together a technology education program at the moment, but that won't be for another 18 months or so. So yeah, it's across the board, but some subjects are more popular than others and actually have been for a lot longer than others as well.
Awesome, thank you. And can someone elaborate on the scope of where people can teach when they not only graduate from the program, but let's say they do their Ontario College of Teachers.
Yep.
Thank you. And after they finish that, can someone explain how far someone can go with, like, around the world, in Canada and the US, things like that?
Why don't I jump in, Wayne, and then you can fill in.
Sure.
I think it's really important for people to know that having a teaching degree from Ontario is really well recognized, and so lots of countries are quite eager to accept teachers who are trained in Ontario. It's considered quite a world-renowned education system, and then to be able to teach within it is considered it's quite it's well accepted. And so there are places where your teaching degree doesn't necessarily even have to be that it's just accepted. Like New Zealand has always accepted them directly, and I haven't looked at that specifically in a while, but I think in terms of being able to take your degree somewhere, having a OCT license is a great sort of passport to have. So, and then I'll pass it over to Wayne, who can probably speak more specifically to it.
Thanks, and possibly because I've actually gone as the referee for a lot of people who have gone overseas. And so, as Alan said, all our education programs are accredited by the College of Teachers. And so when you pass our program, we recommend you to the college, and they sign you up as being certified to teach in Ontario. And because there's an agreement across the country, basically you can go and teach in any province or territory without having to do any more tests or anything else. And so across Canada, it's pretty straightforward. For the rest of the world, most countries now have some form of registration for teachers, but the way it works is, you have to line this up and go through the proper migration channels and so on. But you have an OCT qualification, and then if you present that to a registration body overseas, and they will usually accept that as what's called a transitional certificate, while you meet any other requirements that need to be done. So I've had people who've ended up teaching in Australia, New Zealand, Britain. One person finished, or actually graduated on the Saturday, was on a flight to London and was teaching in England the following Thursday. So you can go fairly quickly. But it's extremely portable around the world. The other group of schools, which I mentioned before, international schools, especially in the Middle East and across Southeast Asia, and a lot of the larger cities across the world. Basically, international schools really like to employ Canadian teachers and Ontario teachers because they're seen, one, as being well trained, but also extremely flexible. And the demand for international school teachers is actually growing exponentially at the moment. And this is all part of globalization as well. So yes, being certified with a Lakehead degree in the College of Teachers is a great way to get a job overseas. It doesn't guarantee a job, but it's certainly a step in the right direction.
Wonderful, thank you. With the PJ specifically, the question is, how does the math test work, and how would someone be tested for that?
Okay, so with that, okay, so we have a math competency exam, which when you come into the education program, so the BEd program, you actually get the first sitting of it is in the 1st September. And so the pass mark is 75%. It's actually set at the grade 6, grade 7 level. And if you pass that, then that's it. You don't have to do anything else. So that's fine. If you don't pass it, and every year we get a number of people who don't, especially in people coming into elementary or PJ education, a lot of people have math phobias and so on. We know that, and so we have a specific course which then goes for the entire year, and that's designed specifically to address people's math knowledge and also understanding math. And basically, in some cases, not being afraid of it. So we have to be realistic here. And then in March, there's another sitting of that exam, same pass mark. If you pass at that time, that's good. If you don't pass it, and every year we have, I think it was this year, 5 people out of 400 or so who came in who didn't pass it. And so basically over the summer, we have a range of resources that we provide people with. And then basically the following September in your 2nd year, you get another sitting of the test. And if that doesn't go well, you actually get a 4th sitting of the test in the following March. And by that point, basically, in the last 3 years, no one has actually failed the 4th sitting of it. So yeah, so that's all good. One thing which we do need to make clear is that our math competency exam is different from the math proficiency test which the province has introduced, but isn't actually up and running at the moment, and that's entirely with the College of Teachers. So we were actually trying to get our math proficiency exam to replace the math proficiency test, but that hasn't happened yet. But yeah. So if you don't like math, then you know, part of our job is to help you like it, because you're going to have to teach it anyway. And so, you know, how can we help you to be a better teacher?
And I think the one thing I would add for anyone on the call who is maybe nervous about this exam or having to take the class, the full year class, students that I've talked to who took that class really loved it. It's a class that they really enjoyed. So it doesn't have to necessarily be a punitive thing. It's a good class in and of itself. So it's not something to necessarily be overly worried about.
That is good to know for anyone like myself who's not a huge fan of math. All right, thank you. Our next question: for consecutive degree, do you need specific teachable subjects for primary junior?
The short answer is no. We do have particular courses, and Ellen, you might be able to remind me if I miss any. You do need to do a course in visual arts. You do need to do a course in English, French, or an Indigenous language. You need to do a science course, and we have some specifically picked out for people to do. And there's also, you also have to do a math course as well. So they're sort of built into the program. And if you go on to the Faculty of Education website, it sets out what the program is. So you can follow that through.
Social studies, I think, was maybe one that you missed there. Is that right?
I don't think there's a specific social studies one in there.
Okay, sorry.
We can check, and people can look it up for themselves. Oh, and look at that, we've just answered all the questions. Cool.
I'm just typing my answer out, and if anyone else has any questions, please ask now. Ask now.
Yeah, because Ellen's the expert. I'm just here to make up the numbers.
Far from it.
All right. I can't believe we don't have any questions left. I was expecting lists and lists. It just means your presentation was so spot on that everything was answered. It's pretty awesome.
Well, that would be the polite explanation.
I think it's the right one. Well then.
What do we do? With yourselves?
We will stick around for a few more minutes, but please don't let this be the last time we get to hang out with everyone. We still have a number of events happening this week for our March virtual open house, as well as we have reoccurring live campus tours, and we have our new webinar series, our applicant reception, which is direct from high school or transfer mature student, and it's a bit of a how-to. What's next? Well, how do we do everything from now until September? So please come to that. We also have contact information up on the screen here if you have specific education questions. So thank you for putting that up here. That is amazing. Everything is on our website at admissions/events. Please hang out with us. It'll be so much fun. And now that I was talking, we have more questions. See, magic. I love it. Is placement organized by Lakehead?
Yes, and so the way it works is in your first 2 placements, depending on which campus you're at, we try and keep people fairly close to the campus. So if you're in Aurelia, it's usually Simcoe County or Simcoe Muskoka Catholic Board. In Thunder Bay, it's the Lakehead District Schools and Thunder Bay Catholic Board. Because of the growth in enrollments, we do send people a bit further afield, but generally we try and keep people close for those first 2, so that if something goes wrong, and things do go wrong, then you're close by. Because one of the things that I think we do very well is to actually look after people and give people every opportunity to be successful. In your third placement, that can be anywhere in the province. And just as a word of warning, you are actually responsible for things like costs associated with going on placement and so on. But we organise all of those. And with the fourth placement, again, it can be in the province, or if you take an alternative placement, that could be anywhere, anywhere from Malaysia down the street. One of the very few conditions is that you can't do a placement in a school where you have a relative who's currently employed there, just to avoid any potential conflicts of interest.
Very good, thank you. Next question, doing a double degree, can you drop a course and still stay in concurrent ed program?
I'm not quite sure what.
I'm not either, but I was hoping you had the answer. I will look into it. For that person who asked the question, I will look into it. Our next question is, does the DELF test for French help with getting into teaching?
It is actually part of the program requirement that you do the DELF, I think it's C1 and B1 before you graduate, especially if you're looking at teaching French in secondary schools or looking at doing French in elementary school. And so, we usually arrange that as well. And the pass mark on both of those is 75%. Having said that, the French program is not available in Aurelia because the Department of Languages is in Thunder Bay, and so that would need to be taken into consideration.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, the last question we have is admission based, so I'll take care of that. But either way. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming. And again, we have lots going on virtually, so please hang out with us. We will stick around for a couple more minutes just in case, but enjoy your Monday afternoon, and thank you for coming.
So while we're here, Rebecca, Aiden Blue has noticed my son has already been accepted to Concurrent. We thought it was only offered in Thunder Bay, but would be more interested in Aurelia. Would we contact the school to inquire about attending Aurelia instead of Thunder Bay? The question would be, is it concurrent for intermediate senior or for PJ? If it's for PJ, it's exactly the same program in both places. If it's for intermediate senior, then it would depend what the teachables are, because Thunder Bay has the whole range of teachables, and Aurelia only has the 4 that we had up on the slides before. And Bella Pavolo, Ellen might be able to help me out with this one. We actually have a Education Student Teacher Association, ESTA, and so they've got both a group in Thunder Bay and one in Aurelia. And they've actually got a Facebook page in both places as well. So type in ESTA Lakehead and it should come up. I don't actually have the address. If Ellen might, I'm not sure.
I can look it up.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And so ESTA actually does a wonderful job, helping people socialise, especially if they're moving in as part of the consecutive program, and also increasingly are engaged with decision making within the faculty, and also advocating for students as well. So they're becoming increasingly active, and a wonderful bunch of people. They meet quite regularly with the chairs of the program, and I meet with them as well. So it's just one way in which student concerns can come straight to the top, as it were. Mm-hmm. Because if there's an issue, then we like to try and sort it out sooner rather than later.
Very good. Can you speak to placement just briefly? 105 days, and can you just explain the breakdown over 4 years, please?
Well, it's actually only over the 2 years.
2 years, sorry.
Yep, and so the way it works, it's the same in first year and second year. So in year 1, it's 9 weeks of classes, be it Aurelia and Thunder Bay, and then 5 weeks of placement, usually the end of October, goes into November and into December. And so that's the first semester. Yes, then you can have Christmas and New Year off, but then back into the new year, again, 9 weeks, and then another 5-week placement. And so people have only just started that last week. They went out on placement. With the pandemic, we've got just about everything. We've got people doing virtual placements. We've got people face-to-face. We've got people doing assignments. We've got people working with students one-on-one. The pandemic has really shaken things up, which is fine. But in a normal year, you would be expected to be in a school for 5 weeks. Then in year 2, same again, 9 weeks of classes and then 5 weeks of placement. And then in the final semester, 9 weeks classes and then 5 weeks of placement. After which, if everything has gone well, then you have actually completed our program requirements, and you're free to work for various boards, because you can be certified with the College of Teachers once you've finished our program.
Very good. And again, so the last semester, those 5 weeks, that can be done out of province or anywhere really, but the first 2 have to be done in your area.
Yeah, the first 2 in your area, the third one anywhere in Ontario, and then the final one can be anywhere, and not just in schools.
Magical. Oh, that's great. Very good. And again, we're through the question list. How easy.
Ah.
All right, we'll just hang out for another minute just in case, but we'll see. That was fun. Great.
Yep. And Bella just asked the question about placements again. So yeah, the last 2 anywhere in the province, and the last one anywhere in the world.
Very good. All right. Well, if anyone has any other further questions, please, all of my contact information as well as recruitment is on the website. So you can email us or book an appointment. We also have a chat with a recruiter drop-in session every Wednesday from 3 to 4. And that's just to pop in, ask your question, get your answer, and then go about your business. So please check that out as well. We are going to end it here. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you so much to these 2 wonderful people. I had a blast. I hope you did too. Everyone have a great night, and thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Rebecca. Thanks, Ellen.
Bye, Wayne.
Yep.